Yeah. Many folks think that the cost of risk is all about just insurance, but in reality, cost of risk is beyond that. It's the safety, it's the contractual management of that risk, and the brand liability. Sometimes a developer owner's reputation can be skewed just by having poor risk factors involved in their project. So specifically to looking at risk, we try to look at the whole gamut of possibilities. And the cost of risk is all, I think, more about how us as consultants in the world I live in, how we can help an owner or developer take something that can be ultimately looked at as being horrendously dangerous, and we call it dressing up the pig, make the guy in the crane look like he's sitting on the beach in Maui, and there's no risk at all to the underwriter if you can express that in a way that makes them sleep well at night, and they look at it and they want to know that it can be insured. We can explain and mitigate any concerns they have. And secondly, they want to know that the likelihood of a loss is either minimal, or if it's going to happen, because some losses, they're just expected to happen, that the response will mitigate the cost, so you're not going to have an extraordinary cost. When an underwriter feels a comfort level, then the cost of risk can be, and the premiums can be maintained and held into a reasonable level. We partner with my banking partners. We work as a collaborative team in many cases, and after 28, we see that risk is now the thing in the forefront. Underwriting was so loose years ago that a lot of, and it wasn't just in banking, it was in insurance, a lot of issues result. Now everyone is underwriting so much more finitely. So our bank now is afraid to do a deal they would have done 4 or 5 years ago. So when we go through this process, a lot of times we can partner an insurance solution with the banking opportunity, with the lending opportunity to actually facilitate that. And kind of an example of that is if there's an environmental exposure to a site in New York City in Manhattan, we may have a very viable project. Everything else is a go, but the underwriter on the banking side is sitting there saying, I don't think I can swallow this pill. There's probably tanks beneath the surface, 10 layers down. As soon as we put the shovel in the ground, we're going to find something. So we try to craft an insurance policy. In this case, we would say, let's have a cost cap policy so that if there is a cleanup, we know what the appetite of the bank is, as well as the developer, for absorbing the cost cleanup. After that level, we'll write an insurance a policy that will pick up and pay and respond to that cleanup. So you have a banker, an underwriter sitting there saying, I think I now can swallow this poison pill because I know that if worst case scenario, I'm only going to have this much exposure. And I know my developer now can handle that financially. We're good to go. So one, it was in Maui, on the beach in Maui, where through a joint venture, 2 resorts, resort hotel complex or entities were looking at a parking lot on a beachfront and saying, we'd rather have a timeshare there. So they went into a joint venture. Their biggest concern was you have wind, you have hurricanes, you have tropical issues to deal with. Secondly, you have in Hawaii ancestral remains that can easily be dug up in the first and second layer of excavation. So we were able to craft some policies and insurance that covered those kind of interruptions or things. Another example is in New Jersey. You have a landfill, you have contamination, you know there's contamination. To put a housing unit on that area, land is so rare. They had to find some solution. So again, we responded to it with some consultative work, working with the bank and underwriters, created a policy that was a safety net for the areas where they thought they might have a liability farther down the road. In that case, if people were buying homes or living there, toxins seep up 5 years down the road, you've got to be concerned that you're going to have kids with cancer. You've got to ensure that for the pollution legal liability, but you also have to worry about the developer having the legacy of having children in his development. So a lot of things that we do to craft to make sure that if an example of that happens, they come back and respond so quickly that it doesn't make a headline or
Well, it sounds like everybody needs a policy like this. Do you think this is going to continue to be a big part?
We believe there and there are emerging opportunities in healthcare. We see that as being the biggest opportunity down the road with construction. Now, I'm using environmental examples in my responses, but even creatively in the emerging construction world, where you see a lot of footprints changing on the healthcare system side. We know construction is happening now, is going to increase in the next 5 to 10 years. We look for creative solutions there too, and owner-controlled insurance programs for those hospitals and health systems that don't do a lot of new development. We can help them manage that risk very creatively, give them financial advantages. And when I say we, I mean our industry can give them financial advantages to managing the cost of risk during the construction. Also seeing some benefits on the back end for completed projects that eliminate the issues of liability if there are defects in the building. So, the creativity of my profession is probably, this behind the scenes. Our banks facilitate deals. Owners and developers realize and optimize their investment in a project, not just during the project build, but long term.